this is video number 15. That's kind of cool. We're halfway. And today I wanted to dive into the second half of these videos. So basically what I've kind of been doing so far, I've just been thinking of different things, like different pieces of advice that I wanted to give to my childhood self, and just been rolling with it really. But now that I'm kind of getting halfway, I'm seeing, okay, I've only got 15 spots left, and so I'm getting really clear on what's going to fill the spots. And I've realized in doing so that a lot of what I've been talking about so far has been about a relationship with yourself, is cultivating this relationship with this person, this body, this mind, this whole thing that you are, that this thing that makes you you, and understanding it and appreciating it and loving it. And so I think I spoke about this in a few videos ago, but I think the other part of the equation when we show up in the world is we are showing up in relationship, not only just with ourselves, but with other people. But I think it was really important to talk about the relationship we have with ourselves first, because if you are going into relationship with other people, friends, family, business, co-workers, all these kinds of huge variety of different kinds of relationships you can have, it's important to understand who you are first, because it's then harder to come across situations where you're compromising yourself. Whereas if you do not have this firm understanding of who you are, what you need, what your wants, desires, and feelings are toward different things, it can be really easy to show up and just kind of go with the flow and let things happen to you, as opposed to being part of the experience of controlling your own life and being in the driver's seat of what is happening around you. And so I think the first part of being in a relationship with other people really relates to clear communication and setting boundaries. And I think these are two separate things, but they're totally the same. Because in order to have really good boundaries, and in order to set those boundaries, you need to be really clear and communicate what these are to other people. And so speaking your own truth and knowing where you stand on things, what your value system is, where you want to be in this world and how you want to be showing up, can be the way that you communicate, and the way that you communicate that to other people is really important, because it's allowing you to stay firm and stay true to those things when you are in relationship with other people. And I think when we don't have these firm boundaries and we don't have these clear lines of where we will compromise, like this area where we will be able to compromise, and then this other very firm area that we do not compromise on at all. It's not a compromising situation. It is the way that we are able to really speak our truth. And I think by doing that, we give ourselves the opportunity to attract in and allow in the people that we really want to have in our lives. So I think what boundary setting and clear communication is, and speaking your truth, really allows you this opportunity to be who you really are, stand up for what you stand for, and let whoever's gonna show up. So in the past, I've struggled with boundary setting, because I didn't want to be that person who was saying no. I didn't want to come across as the bad worker, or the harsh girlfriend, or the person who wasn't easygoing and just goes with the flow. I think I've always been quite a firm person, but I was being reared and raised and cultivated in a way that showed me and demonstrated to me that that person was not of value, that the person who just went along with whatever was the person that you should be. But that was not serving me. I got to a point in my life where I was saying yes to things I didn't want to be saying yes to because of other people's what they believed was right and what they believed was true, as opposed to really looking in and listening to my own truth and listening to what I wanted and what I needed. And so in the last 2 years, I've actually really started cultivating this for the first time. I have taken some time to really get clear on what it is that I need, what I want, what I stand for. And at first it was really hard. At first it was like, oh my gosh, my boss is going to hate me. My boss is going to think I'm flaky. My boss is going to think this and that, the other. Or my friends are going to think this, like, oh, I'm cancelling on movie dates when I don't want to go, or dinners when I don't want to go, or I'm just not, whatever. But I noticed that for some people it did work like that, when I didn't reply to, I didn't show up for things regularly enough. I dropped off their radar. And at first that was really hard for me, but it actually became this really beautiful way that I was like, oh, that person is just not in alignment with me. We obviously just don't have the same ways that we view the world. We don't have the same things that we want to share our time doing. Often it would be people being like, hey, let's go for a drink. And I was like, I can do that sometimes, but that's just not my daily calling. I don't get joy from doing that every day. And especially as I'm getting older and older, I just have so much more that I want to put my time and energy into, and that you become very aware of the limited time and energy that you have, and so you get very clear on how you want to use it. So just really it allows this almost like a space, like when you cultivate this ability to say no and set a boundary and be clear on what you want, saying no to one thing actually opens up to all these other doors. Every time that you say yes and yes and yes and yes, you're closing all these doors to opportunities that you actually might really want. But if you're getting really clear on what you want and you're like, oh, do you want to do this? No thanks. And even though, and it's like, oh, another thing? No thanks. And you stay really clear and committed to what you want, even though in the moment it might feel like, oh, right now I'm saying no to that extra thing, or this, like, I really want to eat that food that this person's offering me, but I'm trying to stick to my, healthy eating thing, or someone's asked me to go drinking, but no, I know that I've got to wake up and get up for my exercise thing, or I won't do it. And in the past, it was really hard for me to say no to those things in place of something else, because that was where my goals were, that was where my energy was, and what made me feel really good. And so it was really hard to say no to things at first, but then all of a sudden I realized that by saying no to the going out and drinking, I was getting up early and going to the gym, where I was going and being able to go up and get first tracks for skiing, or have a whole morning where people would waste their entire days being hungover, or just different things, just the way that people spent their time, and things like knowing when a job was at its end or when a relationship was at its end. I think that is a really hard one to call, just knowing when you're not in alignment, or when someone else is crossing your boundaries and not respecting your boundaries that you set up. So yeah, I think just this idea of being able to say no and really to speak your truth, stay true to that, can be really just invaluable. It's such a good thing to have cultivated in yourself, and that's one thing I really wish that I had learned to do earlier and younger. And so I think it is in my daily routine. It's a daily practice, just coming back to looking at what my values are, what my goals are, what my current life experience is at. Like right now it's the Christmas holidays, and I have a headache, and I'm feeling a bit fluey. And so even though it's a beautiful sunny day and I'm like, oh, I should have gone, and I should have gone this, and I should have gone for a skateboard, and I should have gone for a surf or something. I don't know, which I might still go in the ocean, but just on these days, I'm just like, I just want to be at home in bed, even though I shouldn't be. No, it's just respecting that sometimes, even though you might feel this desire to go and achieve and get things done, or go and be social and go do this, and just because of the external circumstances or what things are being presented to you, you don't have to say yes to everything, basically, is what it's getting at. It just, sometimes we do have to say no to things, and get clear on what we want. And I just think the biggest thing that I've noticed in terms of what has opened up to me when I've been practicing this boundary setting and saying no is, I do notice, like, I actually applied for this job recently, and I got the job, and I was like, I don't love this. Didn't love it, not one bit. And so I was like, okay, well, I still need money, I still need this source of income. And so I went and I applied for some other jobs, and then I got an interview for another one, and I got there and I had it, and I was like, this is so much better. And so in the past, like an old version of me that wasn't able to set a boundary, who wasn't able to understand their own worth or their own value, or have this inner world or this relationship with myself, wouldn't have been able to say like no to a job that wasn't fueling me or fulfilling me, and would have found it really hard to have that conversation, that hard conversation of, sorry, I actually need to be somewhere else and do something else. And just basically saying like, no, I'm not available for these days. That can be really hard as well. Just if you're a shift worker, or you're someone, just whatever kind of work you do, if you have family commitments or other commitments or things that you want to get done, like you have a routine, or asking for a different wage, or that is more in alignment with your worth, it can be hard to have these conversations and set these boundaries. But what I've been discovering is the more that you set a boundary and you know your worth and you stick to that and you seek out more of what you do want, you're going to slowly become more in alignment with that. And so then you have more understanding of your own worth. And so then you're able to seek more of what you are fulfilled by. And it almost works the same with people, and you can kind of get to this place where you're saying no to a lot of people, and it's like, oh, well, I don't seem to like anybody. It's like there's not a lot of people that I click with, and I think that's just coming to, it's like looking at your circumstances and looking at what situations you're putting yourself in, and what kinds of people you do want to be spending time with, and how do you put yourself in situations with people who are more in alignment with the value system that you hold, and instead of just hanging out with people who you kind of get along with, but you don't truly feel like lit up inside by spending time with them. And for me, I think that's kind of where I'm at in my life. It's like, if I'm spending time with someone, it's because they light me up, they make me happy. I'm really just excited by the possibility of spending time with them. And so having that ability to say no to the things that don't serve me and say yes to the things that do. And yeah, just getting really clear in my communication. And I think as well, like when it comes to friends, being friends in any kind of relationship, being able to say, like, personally, it can be really hard, especially if you've been in a relationship for a really long time, to, as you grow and as you change, to stay in communication about the things that are changing in you and what things are shifting. So things will be different priorities at different times, but to be constantly staying in communication and saying what is of value in that moment to you. Maybe it's a season of work, or maybe it's a season of travel, or maybe it's a season of family, and it's just, we go through different seasons in life, and being able to stay open to your own values and boundaries and things like that shifting, and staying in communication so that the other person knows where you're at. And also being open to their boundaries shifting and being open to understanding and meeting their boundaries and respecting those. And again, just having this like open communication is the way that we stay in connected, loving relationships that serve us. And that open communication, while it can seem really scary and could possibly lead to something coming up that is uncomfortable to talk about, I've discovered it's better to have the more uncomfortable conversation earlier than to wait for it to come around. Because one day it's going to come around, whether you like it or not. It will sneak up on you, or you can deal with it head first. So, yeah, I just think, and then as a parent, I think the thing that I see the most is parents wanting their kids to just be happy. And so I think I see a lot of parents who are very good at sticking to their boundaries, sticking to what they believe in, and then some to the complete extreme of never ever compromising anything, which can be different in and of itself. Obviously, we are in communication with others and we need to be flexible in some areas, and we just need to be very sure of what are the things that can't be compromised. For example, mine is lying. Lying is just not a thing that I like or can be on board with in any of my relationships. I can deal with whatever reality is showing up, but I just personally can't deal with the mistrust that comes with lying. And so that's one of my boundaries. But I could deal with a lot of different things, like compromising in different areas, but just truth and honesty is first and foremost for me. And so being clear that that's a boundary for me. And in terms of kids, I think this is a parent, like it's very easy just to, I see a lot of this, it's easier to say yes. And it is hard to say no, especially to a screaming child or to a adolescent who is being an adolescent. It's hard to say no. But I can reflect on my own childhood, and because I did miss out on some certain things as a kid, I noticed that my dad did have a tendency to want to say yes a bit more, just to almost make up for those things. But I look back and I wonder if maybe I would have been better served with a few more no's, because by seeing my dad model a no, I believe I would have been able to understand the importance of a boundary like that, the importance of being able to respect your own beliefs, your own standings, and what you are working toward. And it's like, I think, yeah, it can come across in any age of life, but just in terms of a teenager, I think I always think of this is, if we're not teaching kids to have boundaries and respect their own value system young enough, if a kid's getting to be a teenager and they're in a relationship with someone and that other person wants to have sex and they don't, but if they're not strong enough in their own value system, they're not in practice of saying no, it can be in the situations where kids are often having sex way before they want to or should, mostly just because of these situations where they're being presented with opportunities and not wanting to disappoint or let down someone else. They're doing these things, and I mean, I can't speak from personal experience. This was not my experience at all, but I've had a lot of friends and a lot of people I've come across who have had that experience. And it just really touches my heart in a way that says, like, what if we were to teach kids a lot younger to have really strong values, to have really respectful relationships with themselves and with other people in a way that shows them that no can be really healthy, no can be really self-sustaining. And in fact, if you say no to someone and they leave, maybe it's a good thing. Maybe that's exactly what you needed. Just a thought. That's kind of been my experience when I've gotten pretty clear on who I want in my life. The people I'm saying no to, I'm pretty happy to let leave. And I know that that's going to open a space for someone to come in who I am going to be totally in alignment with, and we're just going to have such a great our relationship built on all of the truth and honesty and love in my heart, because I'm going to share it, and I hope in them that they're going to share the same, and we can connect that way. So yeah, this is episode, are we doing episodes? Sure, we're doing episodes, episode 15, and this has been on boundaries, communication, and telling your truth, speaking your truth. So tomorrow is number 16. So this is kind of cool. We're going into the second half of my 30-day challenge of advice for my childhood health. So I will see you tomorrow, hopefully. Have a good night.